money. Money. I love that money. Money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. You don't really want to play. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. You don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. Money, 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 make you shut your mouth. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say, stay up out of my way. Money, 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 make them shut them off. Keep playing with this Goonies, boy, gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. A lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the
Crank it up, Pedro.
I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up this man. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on the move, that's a digital day. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stage. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up this man. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex.
Heinicke, nice throw. And he's got a first down to DeAndre Carter. Had his first NFL touchdown reception against Denver a couple of weeks ago. Did very well against Washington. There's Brady underneath. Oh, that's out of the hands of Gordon. And William Jackson flies in to take it away.
Spend so much, gotta get it some more. When it hangs out, I just give them a no.
Right here. And so you're just turning around, showing your numbers to the quarterback. Now look at Curl. Break on this. Cameron Curl, perfect on the break. Gotta secure the ball. And there's Jackson on the spot to recover since day one in this league.
Do I just really need help?
Brady rifles down the throw. It's a two-pick first quarter for Tom Brady. And it's Bobby McCain with the interception.
We ain't never got strap five. Nigga, just pay your tax. Call me the mayor.
Throwing pressure, Tampa Bay. And bringing it. Heinicke well protected to the end zone. Carter, the catch. And Washington has its largest lead of the season.
Understanding what the coverage is, you're going to press out here, so you've got inside leverage in a man-to-man situation with Delaney, so you press into him, and then you work to the corner right there. Heinicke reads it perfectly, and what a throw.
Two backs with Heinicke to start this series. Heinicke down the middle, tipped into the hands of Carter. Jordan Whitehead got a hand on it, but that ricocheted right into the hands of Carter for 22 yards. Downhill run for Gibson, and a strong one at that. The best of the day for Washington. Inside the Tampa Bay 40-yard line, 15 yards.
He could eat eggs off your head. He's way taller than you.
Here's Heinicke. It is complete for a first down inside the 35, and John Bates, longest reception of his career at 19 yards first down. Antonio Gibson on the move for Washington. He picks up a dozen yards to set up third down and one for Taylor Heinicke and the football team. Trying to push forward. Still on the move. What an effort. Touchdown, Washington.
inside. You see Heinicke make the fake right there to hold the back end and beautifully executed this offensive line all day.
That's right, people. Showing highlights from last week's improbable to some victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Washington football team was able to carry that momentum into the following week with all the storylines with Ron Rivera going back to Carolina, facing Cam Newton. And they were victorious in their return to Carolina with an impressive 27-21 victory on the road. Taylor Heinicke was balling out, defense playing well, special teams playing well. You got a kicker that's, nailing every kick that he's out there, kicking the ball out the end zone. So they're playing full 60 minutes of all three phases of football, which is a beautiful thing. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast, Postgame Live Week 11. As you can see, we got Robbie G in the building for a rare appearance on Postgame Live. He came out the man cave after another great game and said he had to jump on the live with me. So, Robbie G, how you doing tonight? This afternoon after that great victory and getting ready for this Caps game tonight at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm excited. Maybe in a little bit, I do want to talk about the Caps. I mean, Sammy back-to-back shutouts, very, very exciting. I know that some people like him, don't like him. We've had debates over the last couple of years about him, but he's been solid the last couple of nights for sure. I think they will go back to double V tonight because they expansion drafted him and we got him back. I think that storyline is too good in the first game back in Seattle, and it'll be against our old friend Grubauer. But we won't talk too much hockey. I know that you and Anna will have a lot to break down tomorrow on Sports on the Hill podcast about that, but I'm very excited that they could go for potentially 3 out of 4 wins on this road trip, and it's the first game ever in Seattle, so I may actually do a Twitch live later tonight on my Twitch channel. I'll post on the Sports on the Hill page if I do that, and I might play some Pokemon while watching that hockey game live if people are interested in joining me for that. But let's talk some football. What a great game. I thought I was really impressed with some of the game management down the clock, and that was the big thing I saw from both games last week and this week. Just to be able to control the ball right down to the end and be able to stop them. Now, they did get the ball back, but we were able to have some big fourth downs, able to get some clutch field goals, able to take all those timeouts away. They did have a chance to drive it unlike the previous week, but I thought that the defense just clamped down and they were able to come away with a big fourth down stop and just a really defensive and gutsy effort. And it's a tough game against Cam. I'm sure that, the emotions were high with his first game back in Carolina after they picked him up. And, I'm sure that he, in the back of his mind, thought that Coach Rivera should have picked him up for the Washington football team at some point. So I'm sure there's a sense of wanting revenge against Rivera. But I saw, I think it was right before halftime, they shook hands, so I think that they're still cool, which is good. I saw something, I don't know when it was, but I saw a highlight of them shaking hands earlier in the game, not at the end. Just overall, just thought defensively they stepped up today, especially when we were down early and I was getting a little bit nervous because I thought that Carolina early in the game was able to move the ball fairly well, but they were able to clamp down as the game progressed and they were able to match them touchdown for touchdown. I was a little worried when we had to settle for some field goals towards the end. I was like, oh no, Cam has a history of game-winning drives, but I thought it was big to get that second field goal to force them to get a touchdown, especially with no timeouts, no 2-minute warning, and just a really impressive defensive effort.
Yeah, it was definitely a good game from start to end. Excuse me. That first drive that Carolina went on and they got 7 points. A lot of folks, I don't know if they know or not, but they speak about a lot. The first 15 games for the offense are pretty much scripted. So what the offensive coordinator does, when they watch the tape of the team, they see the weaknesses or whatever, and that first 15 plays is basically built off of those weaknesses that they've seen on tape. So most teams' first drive look pretty impressive. We know the Washington football team has had trouble scoring on their first drives, and other teams have had success on it because they've exploited the weaknesses they've seen on the defense. But now that we have a coordinator that actually makes adjustments and changes up and, doesn't allow those things to happen all game, you saw after that first drive, Carolina went stale for most of the rest of the first half. And, you know, we saw Heinicke. Last week I gave him a shout out and gave him kudos. This week he impressed me more this week than he did last week. His numbers weren't as impressive, but his performance was more impressive with his accuracy on the ball, the confidence he had in leading his receivers and throwing into a window as opposed to holding the ball too long and waiting for him to get open. Granted, they had 3 sacks. He did hold the ball too long a couple of times. But as we've said over and over on the show, you're going to get a couple of those a game from him. That's just who he is. Like Sanchez was saying during the commentating that, you know, he was throwing off his back foot and not planting, not because it wasn't pressured, not because there's pressure there, just because he's gotten comfortable doing that because he's had some success doing it. But it's good with the bad. You have success doing it, but when you saw in this game a couple of times he threw off his back foot, man was open, had a chance to extend the drive or, you know, take some more time off the clock, and it was a misplay. So, I mean, he's definitely improving week by week. The defense, after they made the adjustments before the bye week, we saw the changes starting to come. Like we've talked about, the team was outgaining each opponent offensively, and the defense was holding them down. They were just stalling out in the red zone. So the defense has been playing better. You know, there's still some holes, still some things we saw, you know, that, you know, no defense is going to be perfect. Sometimes the other team is going to, you know, win on that play. Our team always isn't going to win every play. So there are going to be some plays given up. But the fact that there were no blown coverages, no folks running wide open down the field like we saw early in the season, you know, no one knows why those things were happening before. We know some of the things that played into it with them just rushing 4. Well, we saw blitzes today. We actually saw a 7-man blitz, which I don't think we've seen all season. So, I mean, we're seeing adjustments. We're seeing coaches understanding the talent they have on the team and putting them in a position to win, as opposed to the previous coaching staff that would keep on doing the same thing and expect the players to magically, you know, it start working all of a sudden instead of playing to the talent of your team. So I think that's the huge difference we see with this team going forward. Even though they're just 4-6, but with the new 17-week schedule, nobody, you know, they're not out of the playoff hunt right now, especially with the 5 division games at the end of the season. Who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. They're sort of clawing their way back into it. This was a big game because Carolina is one of those teams that are right above them in that wild card hunt. So it's, you know, their teams they're going to have to jump over. You know, Carolina got a big win. San Francisco got a big win today as well. It's 2 of the teams that we're also battling with. Minnesota also got a big win. Another team we're battling with. New Orleans did lose today. The LA Rams are I think they have a week off this week, I think. So so those are some of the teams that we're trying to compete with in that wild card spot. But, I mean, Dallas isn't, like, so crazy far ahead of us. We've seen Dallas collapse before. Well, so maybe you're right. We could, you know, the division's always the easiest way to win.
They're losing to Kansas City right now, 16-3 in the second quarter with 14 minutes left. So, yeah.
15-3, but yeah.
Oh, 50. Oh, what, they went for 2? I
thought
they were still pinning.
Oh, never mind. I must be behind you then. Okay. Never mind.
It says 15-3. So I got the Chiefs game on, and I got the Red Zone going, and I'm watching Postgame live on all the.
Yeah, they're kicking the extra point right now. So yeah, I guess I'm a little behind you, but sorry, my dog. She doesn't know if she wants in or out. You know how it is with dogs chewing bones. You know, it's the deal. Yeah, it's just interesting looking around the league. I was kind of surprised. I thought the Patriots could beat the Falcons today. That's not the surprising thing, but I was surprised that they shut them out. You know, 25-0 in Atlanta.
I mean, Belichick is a defensive coach, and I wouldn't expect him to shut out either. But Cordell Patterson, who was a key piece of their offense, really was still out. Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to shut out, but, you know, when you're missing key pieces, and they were harassing Matt Ryan the whole night. And Belichick is known for a defensive guru, and he has Mac Jones, the rookie. You know, he's figured out who he is. He knows he's not Tom Brady. He knows he's not Joe Montana. He's playing ball like Mac Jones, and they're playing some good ball and running the ball effectively also.
Yeah, one thing going back to the Washington game, I really like the balance I thought that we had in this game. You know, throws and, you know, rushing. You know, Gibson had 19, you know, rushes. McKissick had 7. Heinicke had 6 himself. Patterson had 7. These are attempts, so, in total, just a lot of good opportunities there in the run game. And I thought that, Heinicke had a 141 quarterback rating, but, to the eye, it didn't look like we were, blowing things out of the water, but, he stayed within himself, got a 200 yards, we got 3 touchdowns, was sacked 3 times, but just overall, I thought played really well. I thought Scary Terry was great on the receiving side of it. And they just, the Panthers are going to get theirs, but I was impressed that they held McCaffrey to only under 60 yards. I mean, he can be a beast. And we've seen it, with these bigger, strong running backs before, just take advantage of our inside play. So I was really happy to see that. Cam Newton got 46 yards rushing as well. But we've seen Cam have big days on the ground against us as well, because he's a big guy, hard to take down. He's not as fast as he once was, but he's still, we talked about it on the show on Monday. He's like a train, once he gets going, it's hard to stop him. And so I was very happy that we contained him. He had a pretty good quarterback rating as well. But just overall, I just thought that we did enough in all the phases of the game. As you said, I'm really happy with this new field goal kicker. I kind of wonder why we didn't grab him the first time when we were looking for new kickers, but I'll take it.
It's they went with the Blewett experiment because they had him in a few times before, and he was picking good in the battle or whatever, but they stuck with Dustin and they brought him in, and then now like we have our guy, but going into the stats, since you already go ahead and run them down, I'll go ahead and run down all of them, which I normally do in the post game. Heinicke 16 for 22. 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Newton 21 for 27.
I'm gonna grab a water real quick while you go through this.
All right, 189 for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions with a 120.5 quarterback rating. Gibson had 19 rushes, 95 yards, 5.5 yard average with 1 fumble, and definitely want to talk about that fumble. Oh, I definitely got to get to some comments. I see Brittany done tuned into the show. What's going on, Brittany? Who actually have nothing to say bad about the team. I'm shocked also. I was waiting on something. But, I'm definitely going to get to the comments, answer some of your questions, and give you some of your comments read over the post game. Gibson, I'm going to definitely speak on him later on. Christian McCaffrey was held in check pretty much, 10 carries, 59 yards with a 5.9 yard average. No touchdowns. Robbie was talking about the run distribution for the team. McClissick had 7 carries for 46 yards. Patterson had 7 carries for 23 yards. Terry McLaurin had another beast game. 5 catches off of 7 targets, 103 yards, 20.6 yard average with a touch. DJ Moore for Carolina had 5 catches, 50 yards with a 10-yard average and 1 touchdown. For the team stats, Washington had 24 first downs. Carolina had 18. Third down conversions, Washington went 6 for 13, which is great for his offense, who was hovering around 31%, bottom of the league for most of the season. And the defense held Carolina to 2 for 9 on third down, which is phenomenal, being that they were giving up almost 50% on third down conversions. Fourth down, Washington was 2 for 2. Fourth down for Carolina, they were 1 for 3. Rush yards, Washington had 190, Carolina had 111. Passing after the sacks that Heinicke took, total of 179 yards. Carolina had 186 yards for a total for the Washington football team, 369. And Carolina had a total of 297, which is way below the average of what Washington normally was averaging, giving up almost 360 yards a game before the defense went on this run, which I'm definitely applauding Jack Del Rio for finally figuring it out and putting people in a position to win and sending pressure, which he hadn't been doing for the beginning of the season. 8 penalties for 69 yards for Washington, 7 penalties for 65 yards for Carolina. Now, I find it kind of crazy that it was, 4 personal foul calls on Washington this game, 2 for Carolina. It's like, some of the calls were questionable. Some of the calls were missed as always, but, I wasn't expecting this many penalties as last week. They only had 3 penalties as a team. And this is the most pivotal stat that I always bring up. Time of possession. Washington had the ball for 35 minutes and 53 seconds. Carolina had the ball for 24 minutes and 7 seconds. Last week, they had the ball for 39 minutes. They had the ball 2-to-1 ratio last week, and this week they've had the ball for a whole 11 minutes more than the other team. I mean, 21 minutes more. I'm sorry, can't even add right now. So, as Robbie talked about, sticking with the run and the balance, that's what happens when you have balance. You dictate the pace of the game. Both the offensive line and defensive line excelled in this game, even with the offensive line losing people. It seems like one lineman every quarter, it felt like at one point. So, I mean, we're seeing the depth of this team. We're seeing the growth of this team. We're seeing the progress of this team. So, I mean, like we always said, it's a long season. Didn't start out the way they wanted to, but it's not about how you start, how you finish. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we're seeing this team develop, find its identity, put people in the right places. They moved Landon Collins down to the box. He's been playing very well. He got exploited, on a couple of plays a day with the offense that Carolina runs, with him running 2 running backs out there. So he had to be responsible for one of them, and they exploited it a few times. But for the most part, he's played top-notch linebacker / safety, because he doesn't want to be called a safety. But it's definitely encouraging to see what this team is doing right now.
I got a bunch of comments on your feed right now. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. So Steven says, I don't want to jinx him, but with all the Tyler haters who said he wouldn't last 2 games without an injury, where are you now? Tyler's better than Kyler Murray. What do you say? He isn't playing. He's playing where Murray isn't. Mark Moore says, it's a nice win. Taylor played well, made some big third downs again. We can get all our running backs going. Brittany says, I don't have anything bad to say about this game. I am shocked.
Yes.
And but then she did. She said that, but she did say Landon Collins is a bum. Mark said Cole Holcomb played well.
Brittany, come on now. You can't see. Last week, folks were still complaining after a win. 2 wins in a row of a team that they said we weren't going to beat. All the analysts said we didn't stand a chance to get. And he's been playing. No player is perfect. We know he gets exploited in coverage. But since he's moved down to the box, he's been a plus player. He hasn't been causing the team any issues, hasn't been getting caught out in coverage. Like I said today, because of the 2 running backs that they had, both of them are good route runners, he got exploited on a few plays. Did it cost us the game? Did they score on it? No. It was a first down. It was a yardage game. That's it. I mean, nobody's going to be – people don't think players are Madden and you can just push a button and they're supposed to do everything perfectly the way it's supposed to be done. Mistakes are going to be made. This is a game. It's about fat people running fast, physics, moving around. It's a lot of things going on that mistakes are going to be made. Angles are going to be missed because they're human beings. They're not computers. They're not video games. Come on, people.
Right. And then she said, if anyone wants to beat us, all they have to do is throw to whoever Landon Collins is covering. So, I mean, that's why we, trying to take him out of coverage in some ways. And then Mark Moore said he thought we played 3 centers today. He says time of possession makes a huge difference. And Brittany has come back and says he's not been playing well to me. He's like the highest paid. Come on, man.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
He has a contract. That's what's going to be dealt with in the offseason. They didn't do anything with it in the preseason. I thought he was going to be a cap casualty. They figured that they could get him in there. But at the end of the season, the decision is going to be made. We spoke about it last Monday when me and Dujanay had the conversation. This exact conversation about, will we keep him at, the rate that he's playing because he's playing so well? No, you don't keep a part-time linebacker at $17 million a year. So, but he's on the team. He's playing well. End of the year, we worry about that. Right now, we're still under the salary cap. So what difference does it make? If we need to sign somebody, we can sign him. Just complaining to complain. Raining on the parade of a good game, of a 60-minute game, of a game that everybody said they didn't stand. Oh, it was a fluke that beat Tampa Bay. They aren't going to be able to do it. That was a letdown because of the Super Bowl champion. They're going to get beat. Cam's going to take over and yada, yada, yada. And no, after Cam ran his ass to the middle of the field and played big, you saw the defense clamp down on him. That's how you respond. That's when you know that you're a real team. Oh, you want to go out there and showboat and play around like you the man? Okay, we're going to show you not the man. You didn't even throw for 200 yards. You got held in check. You didn't go out there and show out. Yeah, you're back, and you just lost at home where you're back at. Simple.
I was really impressed. I mean, this I don't even want to say it's a bitch trap game. I'm sure that we weren't even favored in this game. Yes, 69% of people who bet against the spread with Carolina, giving a field goal margin. So 69% of people, a nice amount, picked Carolina given the 3 points. And we beat them straight up. Not against the spread, just beat them, by 6. So it's 9 points better than people expected us to do. That's everything you want to say right there, and I'm impressed, and it's a big win, and I've got, next week we got to figure out what we're going to do, Carol. It's episode 250, so tomorrow's 249. I'm not going to be able to be on it, which is why I'm here chatting with you today, but I got to come back for 250. It's too big of a show, and it's a live game versus Seattle on Monday Night Football, where if we win that game, we're right back into the season, right? It's such a huge game at home, 8:15. Curious to see how the crowd's going to show up for it. But it's going to be a really interesting test. And then we go to Vegas, and then we start the gauntlet of all of these, division teams. We play Dallas, and at Philly, then at Dallas, and Philly at home, in Washington, and then at New York. And just what a crazy – I've just never seen anything like this before. We talked about this at the beginning of the season. But, everything could change on this. We could go on a huge run right now and take this division, right? If we did like we did on that first RG3 year. Remember when we just won out?
And they ran the table. It's possible. Last year, they got hot at the right time and ran off some wins in a row. So that's what I say is, some teams develop at different paces. Unfortunately, it took till week 9, week 10 for this team to, figure itself out, get its identity, and start playing as a team. We spoke about earlier this season how the defensive line were, playing selfishly, trying to, get to the quarterback and not playing as a unit. Now we see them playing as a unit, and I have to go back and reiterate the Jonathan Allen extension that a lot of fans were turning their nose up about, saying that he was overpaid and he didn't, they don't think that he deserved that contract and they should let him go and re-sign such and such. He's the 3rd top rated defensive tackle in the league, according to PFF, who tracks all types of analytics on the defensive players. It's not always about sacks. So, yeah, they're making the right decisions. They're playing as a team, and they're figuring things out. And they're doing it at the right time. You don't want to start out fast and end slow. We've seen this team start out 6-2 and then end out 2-6 and end up 8-8. And all of the hype and everything was for nothing because they, didn't get hot at the right time. They started out the season game. People figure them out because once they get tape, folks figure out your weaknesses and they exploit it. And that's what football is.
Well, this is a great example of this game that we're watching right now, this Kansas City-Dallas game, right? Kansas City started off very slow this year, and they've been on fire now. And then you look at the other side where you had Dallas, who everyone thought was like a world beater, and they might win the Super Bowl this year, and they're struggling right now. They just had to kick it, punt it again. They've only scored a field goal in this game. Now, they didn't give Kansas City very good field position, but, it's still like Kansas City moves the ball in this down, it can become very difficult in this game very quickly. So,
put up 40 last week. I bet they wish they had some of those points this week.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a crazy year. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with having the extra week. We still don't know how that's going to make things play out with having an odd number of games. And, there isn't going to be an 8-8 team this year, So I guess you could be 8-8-1. So that still blows my mind that Pittsburgh and the Lions could tie like that. Oh, my co-host is waking up over here, but yeah, it's been quite the year, in all the sports. I mean, I just been watching, basketball last night. I just was shocked. The Wizards were down real late in that game and just were draining these threes and came back. And, I watched on this road trip in the Capitals. We don't talk about the spirit enough on this thing, but congratulations to another DC champion, in women's soccer, and Ovechkin owns the team now, so That's exciting. Even President Biden congratulated them, for that big win, for DC. So it's funny to see the landscape of DC sports and how much it's changed over the 5 or 6 years since we've been covering them. And all the teams seem to have a legit chance every year right now, and it'll just be interesting to see how they deal with injuries and adversity down the stretch.
Yeah, that's all part of the game. That's why I can say with the injuries that this team has been facing, you can see the depth that they've added, the quality depth, not just people to put on the field, but actually quality talent on there to replace the top talent when it goes out injured.
I think that's such a key point that you make, Harold, because I think that's the one consistent thing across all the DC sports teams and why they've been more successful is the depth, right? And the championship team for the Capitals, for the Nationals, it was all because they had all the lines clicking, all the players, all the role players, everyone clicking. And I think that's what Washington needs to do. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple of years back, right? They won it because I thought that they had so many playmakers all the way down their depth chart. They could have an injury and throw somebody else in, and you wouldn't have a loss. It's why I think the Wizards are doing so well right now. I think this might be the deepest Wizards team I've ever seen, and I've been a fan of the team since the 90s, right? So I think that's the key to success is to really, you want your superstars and your top lines or whatever you want to call it in each sport to shine, but injuries will happen, and have the next man up mentality and how you could do that. I think a lot of these champions that you've seen, the Tampa Bays, in a lot of different sports and a couple of other ones, it's been having that depth is such a key thing. And I think that Washington, you can see the depth. I mean, I don't even think you play Fitzpatrick for the rest of the year at this point. I think he just sort of.
He's done. They already announced that he's not going to make it.
Right, but and that's interesting because at the beginning of the season, you're like, of course you'd want him to come back halfway through the year, right? I mean,
but you got a quarterback that you see progressing, you see making adjustments, you see growing as a quarterback, and even if he came back, I don't think they would replace him with put him in as a starter and put Heinicke on the bench just because the progression that we've seen from week to week, and it's rare to see that, and it's crazy that most of if he was on any other team, they'll be ranting and raving about him like they were last week with Cam, who played 9 plays and got 2 touchdowns, one on the run and one on the short pass, and they were raving about he's back and all this and that. But then you have a quarterback that's been starting since week 2 that folks were talking about he needs to be benched and all this and that, and then he's improving. The last 2 weeks his quarterback rating has been at least over 125 rating. Perfect is 151.3. He had a 141.3 today. I'm watching Postgame now. Last week, Postgame, after they upset the Bucks and after everybody talked bad about them, said they weren't standing a chance, they did a 2-minute segment on it. They showed the touchdown pass to DeAndre Carter and then showed the post-game conference from Bruce Arians because he was upset that his team played bad. So when you have people,
teams across the board, this happens to the Wizards are like one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference right now.
They don't get no pub.
Refuses to talk about them, and I just don't know what it is. An anti-DC bias, what the deal is. I mean, it's just shocking to me with some of these things. It's like they basically say, that every team, gets a win every once in a while. They don't give them credit for beating these amazing teams when they do.
Okay. Well, we could talk about that over here. We still talking football. We getting off the subject. I was going to run down some of the scores from the first round of games because my pick 'em. I'm pretty much out of it. I'm in 10th place right now, Robbie. I don't know. The wheels that fell off and they just keep rolling off. San Francisco beat Jacksonville 30-10. Minnesota upset upset in my book because Kirk Cousins, I have to admit, has been playing some good ball this year, and an impressive win last week and another impressive win this week. They almost lost this game, but they were able to find a way to win 34-31. Cleveland kept Detroit winless. They won 13-10. The Colts thumped the Bills. I definitely didn't see this coming. Jonathan Taylor had a hell of a game. Had 30 carries, 186 yards, and 5 total touchdowns. Colts beat the Bills 41-15, and the Eagles upset the Saints 40-29. The only reason I say upset because I had to.
I don't think it's an upset.
The only reason it's a long story. Lamar Jackson's my quarterback in fantasy. He was a late scratch, and I had to pick up Trevor Siemian with the New Orleans Saints office. I was hoping that he would have a similar performance that he had last week, and no, he did. He still had a good game, but he had 2 early interceptions that basically catapulted Philly's offense to get them the lead. Philly, I believe now is 5-6. I meant to put the updated standings up, but I forgot to do that graphic. My bad. The Dolphins beat the Jets 24-17. The Ravens found the way to beat the Texans with Lamar Jackson out 16-13. And the Texans, I think this is the upset of the day with Tyrod Taylor coming back, who I should have picked up as my fantasy football quarterback. Beat the Tennessee Titans, who are on a 6-game winning streak, 22-13. They pretty much shut down Tennessee today. Running game without Derrick Henry, they were able to, Adrian Peterson, he had like 40 yards, but yeah, it's not the same team without Derrick Henry. And right now, Arizona is up on Seattle. The Washington's next opponent 7-3 with 2 minutes left in the second. The Cowboys are down 16-3 with 6 minutes and 20 seconds left in the second. They have the ball on their 14. And the Bengals are up on the Raiders at 10-6 at halftime. And I need Jacobs and Waller to have a hell of a game so I can get back in my fantasy football game. But I think my pick on my fantasy is done. As long as the Washington football team is winning, it is what it is. I take that. Last 2 weeks I didn't lost.
I naturally, the better the Washington football team does, the worse my fantasy or my pick-em will, because my dad has always taught me to bet against the team that I root for. So it's interesting that. But I'm in 7th place. I'm not doing much better than you. Sith has a shot at winning it all. Hurt's not that far back, but sweet Peter Jeter is crushing us all right now. So we're all pretty far back. Shout out to my father-in-law, Tommy Dykes, who's in 5th. And he's tied right now with our good friend Dujanet. So, it's fun being on Postgame with you. I'm sorry I won't be there tomorrow. Hopefully for episode 250, I'll come back. My goal is actually to even stream that one, maybe on Twitch, if I can get my son down in time for that. So that's going to be a big game. We'll have a lot of hockey to talk about. We'll talk about, the live game versus Seattle. But we also have a live game for the Wizards that night as well. I forgot who they play, but I know that they've got a game that night. So episode 250 is going to be excited. I just can't believe 6 years, Carol, 250 episodes. We're coming up on it. That's another big milestone. We're a quarter of the way to 1,000. That's a crazy number. And a lot of podcasts never make 100, no less 250. So
yeah, we got some things in the works talking to some folks, getting some interviews. Be on the lookout. Might have, we always get at least one Washington football team, personnel or people on here. So let's say I'm behind the scenes working on some things, trying to get some key folks that you see and hear on the radio on our show also. So stay tuned.
And Carol, I like your new shirt that you got from the merch store.
I just caught the new Sports OTHP. I went on, grabbed some gear. I had to re-up my stock of apparel and I got some models that I'm trying to get some pictures and, start to push the apparel line more because, we got a good product on the air and we got a great product that you can wear. I just made that up.
Right. So 2 weeks in a row, I wore our burgundy and gold big ass, and 2 weeks in a row, big win. So what's great about this burgundy and gold is even if they change the name, they already said they won't change the colors. So you can always cop our burgundy and gold merch, and you'll be in style forever, and no matter what's going on. So and it's lucky, right? It's proven fact now. So. But Carol, this has been a lot of fun. My co-host is back to sleep, so she was good for us. The animals didn't cause too much chaos, and I appreciate you letting me come on today. And I hope that you and Anna and the rest of the basketball team, and I don't know who you got for football, but even if you do it yourself, I'm sure it'll be a great show. I know that there's going to be another live Wizards game tomorrow. They're playing a revenge game against who was it? It was Charlotte, right? And they already got their revenge game against Miami yesterday. We talked about that one earlier. But big game against Seattle. I'll post on the page if I end up doing the Twitch live stream while we watch that. But I hope that I'm happy TJ Oshi's back. And Connor Sherry scoring from his butt, and TJ Oshie getting 2 goals was awesome last night. And if anyone wants a quick recap of that, I did a 2-minute recap at 1:15 in the morning. I got almost all the stats correct. So
It was Oshie that had 2 goals? I know. Oh, you said
Ovi
Ovi.
had 2 goals. Sherry had 2 goals.
Sherry, okay, yeah, okay. I think you said Oshie. I was like, hold on.
Sherry got one from his
I
butt.
still haven't watched. I was watching it, but I wasn't watching it.
Right, Ovi scored an early goal from his a nice blast from his office, and then he got the empty netter, and he's climbing up the ranks in both the empty net goal category, and also he's almost the leader in the power play goal category. He's just a couple back in that as well. So he's only 22, I think, back of third place all time, Jaromir Jagr. So he's climbing quickly. I think 14 goals on the season. So just a couple of goals off of the leader in the NHL right now. So.
All right, well, I'll let you get out of here, Robbie. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and I always got to play some music videos at the end of whatever I do. So I'll let you go ahead and take it easy, and appreciate you coming on. And yeah, we'll check at you at episode 250. I know you're gonna find a way to find.
I'll find a way to come on, whether or not I'm the whole show or not. I'll definitely make an appearance. So. Have a good one.
All right, man. Take it easy, Robbie. I appreciate Robbie coming on. As always, you got to end the show. Make sure you go check out the website, Sports OTHP. You can get all of our latest episodes of any and everything that we're doing as our shows, our post-game lives, our highlights that I do. I'll be doing another highlight for this game also. So just be on the lookout. We always trying to bring you the best DC sports content, not even DC sports, just the best sports content around. Looking to branch out, get beyond DC sports, start pushing, more, like go around the league, trying to expand more to get a broader audience, get the word out there. So it's not just about DC sports, it's about the best sports coverage around anyway. But it is what it is. You know what we do. We bring it to you because you love it and we love doing it. So, as always, thanks for checking us out. Also, if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, hit me up. I'm down at Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. New, used, pre-owned, certified. Inbox me, email me. You see all my information up there. Also, if you're looking to save some money on utility bills, inbox me. I got a quick 10-minute program. Just got to sign up for. You don't do anything different. You pay your bill the same way. But you can save 10 to 15% on your utility bills, gas and electric. Depending on your zip code and what the savings will be, just hit me up, add your bill, and we can look at it and see what we can do to save you some money. I'm about to get up out of here and get ready for the Capitals game later on myself. I got to end the show, as always, with some independent music. We're taking the show the week off from At the Bar Radio. Shout out to 151. Rest in peace to Uncle Tyrone. Just laid in the rest yesterday. Definitely want to miss him. He was a great man. So we took off tonight, just to unwind and let everything flow. We'll be back next week as always, 6 o'clock, bringing you the best entertainment news, sports, politics, current events, independent music, the best independent music videos around, So check it out. I got some Riff, got some Renegade, got some other things lined up. So check it out. DC Sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CP3 live from the lab, and I'm out.
say. I know it's hard for you, doing what I do, staying out at night. There's only one word for you that comes to my mind. Baby, you need to relax. Tell me what it is that I need to do. Want you to calm down. Whatever it is, I will do. If you just relax, calm down, baby. Take a chill pill, mama. I'll do whatever you need. I'll give you anything you want, baby. All you gotta do, all you gotta do, all you gotta do is relax, relax. Hey, hey, all you gotta do is relax, relax, relax. All you gotta do is relax, relax, relax. Put it on the floor.
Crank it up, Pedro.
I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, 12 on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, 12 on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. But I dish it like I give it and go. Counting money while I chill at the stove. How I deliver, I've been at the dough. It's up to you how business will go. That 36 I get for the look. Count it up, no feelings will show. Spend so much, gotta get it some more. When they hands out, I just give them a no. How they always talk about me, but a nigga stand out. Watch out how you really walk up to me, that's a man down. All these niggas got these drums with them like a band now. I've been doing what I want, that's what you can't doubt. I've been just feeling myself. Do I just really need help? I got my weight up. I be just telling myself I got love for all of my dogs. I take a pay cut. Some niggas really gon' ride. Some niggas really slide. So go say a prayer. We ain't never gotta slap five. Nigga, just pay your tithes and call me the mayor. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, 12 on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, 12 on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. money.
Lucas.
Money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. You don't really want to play. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. It's money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. Money, 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 make you shut him mouth. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say. Stay up out of my way. Cause money, 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 make him shut him mouth. Keep playing with this goonies, boy, I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they might seem surprised, this is homicide. We just multiply, we been on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. Day in my life, take me a different route. And use all my case, niggas on my face. You can get erased, what you talking about? Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm ballin', I'm ballin', I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm feeling like Robert's a horror. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead and let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go and talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii. All day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it, man. And you can never, ever, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you play the game, then you play by the rules. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about.
Clean, man. Yo, blackout, you know, we have them get a clock out. I think I already know one. That's good. Come and tell us I'm a body. Anything me see, I'm a put on my friend. fresh. Me diva try on, me put on my done. Image a crime for someone, she line if she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a diva breast. Step in and me make every neck a turn. If in your mind you got style, you're blind, just check out to fly when you're done. Anyway, she see me at the so she want to give me, cause me fresh, me next to chilly. I'ma beat it for you, never been in the Philly, but me got a gal a Philly. Can this gal if she got secret for you? Valentino wanna bop it with a buckle, I see rockin' on me and I just so got me team it there. But the fact that the mathematic up in on me and I'm in no afraid for squeeze, cause the killer them out and bad. Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me diva try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone, she line if she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a diva press. Step in and me make every neck a turn. If in your mind you got style, you're blind, just check out to fly when you're done. Dress up in a Fendi, feel me gal no look like Wendy. My Bible wanna cause me trendy, nobody no let me. Me nigga them the bomb me right, and me gal no left me not a spot in a the spotlight. When she tell me, and me a Scorpio fully, me nah go take the bully mine. Know you want talk to me nigga, them call we psychopathic. She a dance fan body, me see gal a stucky better must come when me call me quick fi move on. Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me diva try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone, she line if she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a diva press. Step in and me make every neck a turn. If in your mind you got style, you're blind, just check out to fly when you're done.
Yo, Jaden. Yo, Lucky Six. Ashley. Yo, so sudden. I think already no one. Yes, just cool. Just cool. Alicia, pick up yourself. Yes.
Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me diva try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone, she line if she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a diva press. Step in and me make every neck a turn. If in your mind you got style, you're blind, just check out to fly when you're done.
Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. Take me to a place where everybody learns, where everybody sees, where everybody shows their love. I didn't think so. You know. That's why I always try to plan ahead for you or me. I really didn't think so. I take a promise, I give it some love, I make a wish upon a star. You know you gotta get it right. You know you gotta get it right. Ooh. Every little thing counts now. Every little bitty thing. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. It'd be so cool just to celebrate all the love and all the hate that's going down.